Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thanks for rolling up into my crib one more time. Coming to my house.
Thank you. Jazakallahu khair. May Allah bless you and your family.
Inshallah. Well, ya Sheikh, now you were talking last time about the first right that we have. The first was equity. Now, what's the second? If there is a second?
As you were talking about the components of bringing happiness to the married life and making it such an honorable and a blessed life. The second definitely is ashura, which is the mutual consultation. The concept of ashura in Islam is such a great concept. It's one of our principles in our religion. But first, what is the literal meaning of the word shura, as I just translated it as a mutual consultation? Do you know the honeybees? They travel from a flower to another, from rose to another, to harvest the best of flavors. And the harvest of all of that is called shura. So basically, shura brings about the best, the elite, the finest, the purest opinion, essence, or harvest. When we make mashura, when we take the opinion of one another, I might be very smart, but maybe somebody else is smarter than me, even though he's less than me in knowledge or younger than me. So taking different opinions will bring about the best opinion, of course. But if we believe in this concept of ashura, in Islam, in our religion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established this concept even before the Muslim ummah or nation was established. There is an entire surah in the Quran which is named after this concept, Surah Al-Shura. The ayah which falls in this surah, which talks about a mutual consultation, وَالَّذِينَ اسْتَجَابُوا لِرَبِّهِمْ وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala basically is praising, admiring the believers who responded to the call of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They did what? They believed in Him. They established the salah, and they conduct their affairs with mutual consultation. They listen to one another. It is very, very interesting to understand that this surah is Surah Makkiyah. Do you know what it means?
Yeah, it was revealed to Mecca before the migration.
Before the migration?
Yeah.
There was no Muslim state to begin with. So what kind of shura we're talking about? Then when the Prophet ﷺ immigrated to Al-Medina, and of course right away started establishing the Muslim state, at one point Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the second ayah of Ash-Shura, the mutual consultation, commanding the head of the state, the Prophet ﷺ, the commander of the chief, to deal with his followers with shura on the basis of mutual consultation. But he's a prophet. But still, listen to them, consult them in the affair. In Surah Ali Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَظًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ فَاعْفُ عَنْهُمْ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَوَكِّلِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to His Prophet ﷺ. Out of mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He dealt with them with kindness, gentleness, with His companions ﷺ. Had you been harsh-hearted and severe, they would have broken away from you right away. So, pardon them and ask for forgiveness for their sins. وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ.
Consult them.
And consult them in the affair. In the worldly affairs. In affairs which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not decide concerning, and He let you give your opinion so that you would hear the best of opinions. وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. In one of the battles, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam decided to camp somewhere. There came a companion by the name Hubab ibn al-Munzir, may Allah be pleased with him, and said, Ya Rasulullah, is this position, is this location that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose for you, or is it a subject of mashura and mutual consultation? He said, no, in fact, it's a subject of mashura. He said, then Ya Rasulullah, I have a better location. Where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam listened to him and took his advice. There are so many stories in the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions and the leaders of the Muslim Ummah that showed that shura in Islam is a way of life, is a system which is not only limited to the state, but to individuals, and accordingly in the married life.
Should you?
Yeah, I want to ask. You're talking about shura and that it is very important to be at the home. Does it have to be in everything, whether minor or major?
Well, you can be very meticulous and you can make a big deal out of nothing. But things like, what are you going to eat today? She already knows. We're going to visit my mom today or visit your mom tomorrow and so on. Things which you're afraid that it might cause problems, it's best to take mashura. But listen to this ayah which happened to be the third ayah in the entire Quran about mashura. The word shura was mentioned 3 times in the Quran. The third time is very, very fascinating because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِنْ أَرَادَا فِصَالًا عَنْ تَرَاضٍ مِّنْهُمَا وَتَشَاوُرٍ فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِمَا. Meaning, if they both, whom? We'll learn later. If they both decided or they wanted to wean the child, stop the breastfeeding, after taradin, an agreement and mutual consultation, وَتَشَاوُرٍ, there is no sin upon them. Who are they? Both of them have to agree and have a mutual consultation. It's not the husband and wife. It is a man who divorced his wife and his divorcee. They have a child. There is still a link between them.
So they have to
They're commanded to make mashura.
Even after divorce?
Yes, after divorce. To make mashura and have a mutual consultation concerning the child. Whether to stop breastfeeding him and start feeding him regular food or not. And it's not for either one of them to decide on their own. Even the Mufassirin said that it's best to consult not only those who were married before and now they are divorced, their families too, their parents. This is very interesting. That the concept of the shura goes deep in the bone marrow, in the vertebra of this ummah. Whether it's the state, it is a family, or amongst individuals.
So if I want to give in a charity or perform i'tikaf or perform supererogatory fasting, do I have to consult her?
I think now you're making it very difficult on yourself. But when it comes to going for i'tikaf, what's i'tikaf? It's to stay in the masjid for a certain number of days and nights. You're going to be away. It's like, you're traveling. You're going to be gone for a week or 2. In this case, of course, you inform her. And maybe your house needs you more. Maybe you have a child who's sick. Or there is no body to take care of your household or your family in your absence. So absolutely, the mashura will bring about the best, of course.
So in the family life there is no individual decision. Any decision should be after a mutual consultation.
Let me ask you this. Why you 2 young men are very worried about every decision making in the house and so on? It's not a law and order at home. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated that it should be bil ma'roof, on reasonable basis. Yani, when there is the factor of love and compassion, when there is mercy and beneficence. We're not going to go by, you have to do this and I have to do that. We don't have a by law. to go with. Because this is not a business, this is a marriage life, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described as وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. When each one of them start thinking about, those are my rights, and those are yours, then we're accounting each other meticulously.
You shouldn't, I don't know, like the way I do it with my people, is if it's a small decision, I make it. But if it's like, hey, we're going to move across town, then I'll consult my people and see what they have to say about it. So the way I look at it is the big decisions, the day-to-day decisions everyone's going to make, but the big decisions you make together as a family, and then this works out very good for everybody.
Yeah, it's like I'm going to buy snacks. Is it okay or not?
Yeah, let's have a shooter. I'm going to go to the store and get a chicken.
Let me say that just like I want her to consult me, or just like I want to, to make her consult me, so I should consult her too.
Like if you're going to buy a car.
We agreed last time that our role model and the best husband was the Prophet ﷺ. He used to consult his wives, and he used to take their opinions and follow it. So we should follow him ﷺ. During his life, Sulaym, may Allah be pleased with her, her husband Abu Talha came to her and said that the Prophet ﷺ is bringing some people over. She said, Allahu wa Rasuluhu a'lam, Allah and His Messenger knows best, because they don't have enough, just some dry bread. So the man consulted his wife. Shall we come or not? Why? Because she knows best about the house affairs, whether they have what they could afford or not. Others surprise their spouses with, we're having guests. Nowadays, with the widespread of means of communication, phones, email, and so on, and cellular phones, it is best to inform your wife beforehand about any move like this. You don't want to embarrass her. You don't want her to look like, her house is not really set up, and she doesn't have any food, and so on. So there, Abu Talha brought the Prophet ﷺ and his guests. Sulaym didn't have but some dry bread. The Prophet ﷺ said, don't worry, give me whatever you have. So she got some butter and he put it on it after they crushed the bread. And the Prophet ﷺ made a meal out of that. And he said, invite 10 of his companions. So they came in and he started eating. Basically, the Prophet ﷺ blessed the food with some supplication, so it was more than sufficient. Started eating until they were full. Then they left. Another 10, until they were about 80 people, and the food was still the same. But remember, Abu Talha did not invite them
until he talked to
his wife.
You guys want a refill on your coffee and tea?
Actually, I want to eat.
Yes, that comes
Talking
later.
about food.
Inshallah, so I'll go get some refills and we'll hit that up, inshallah.
Okay.
Jazakallah.
Jazakallah khairan.
Anyone who chooses other than Islam as a religion, as a way, it won't be accepted from him. This Quran has to be understood by the way the companions of Rasulullah understood the Quran. We disconnect ourselves from the actions of certain Muslims who oppress people and kill people unjustly.
This whole concept of a shura and having a shura with your wife and talking to your wife reminds me of the time that Muhammad ﷺ told everybody to slaughter their animals and take off their ihram and go back to Medina. And he went in and you know the story better than me, Sheikh. So
actually, this story, you should mention it to Amr, because he was inquiring about, consulting your wife too. It was the Prophet ﷺ, and he did not really have to consult her. She offered the advice, where he right away picked it up. It was, the Treaty of Al-Hudaybiyah, when the Prophet ﷺ and the companions were not allowed to perform Umrah during this trip. So the Prophet ﷺ made a deal with the Meccans, and they decided to undo their ihram, slaughter their sacrifices, shave and undo their ihram without performing umrah. The companions were very upset because they were eager to perform umrah. So the Prophet ﷺ said, undo your ihram. None of them listened to the Prophet ﷺ. That's a qiyas. You know what could happen? A severe punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a disaster. So that's why when the Nabi ﷺ entered his tent, he was very furious. And he said, halak al-qawm. And his wife Salama was with him. The people have been destroyed because they disobeyed him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we're talking about the companions. But they were confused, they were very upset. So Salama said, calm down, Ya Rasulullah. Why don't you go out? Start by yourself, slaughter your sacrifice and shave your hair.
MashaAllah.
And see what's going to happen. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam followed her advice. He went out, he slaughtered his sacrifice, and he had a barber, and he started shaving his hair. When this happened, the companions noticed that the Prophet ﷺ is doing this quietly, so they were competing and racing who would do it first, afraid that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will get angry and mad with them. Here is the advice of one's wife, was useful for an entire ummah, saved a huge army, all the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, almost 1,400 of them, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And the concept of the shura is going through every aspect in our life. Even before marriage, once, a Sahabi Julaybib, may Allah be pleased with him, who was very, very poor companion. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam engaged him to a girl. He asked the man to let him marry his daughter. So the advice and the recommendation is coming from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the man must be the best. However, the father of the girl said, let me first, Ya Rasulullah, consult her mother. And the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam applauded that, agreed to that. And when he consulted the mother, now they needed to consult
The daughter.
the daughter. There is a great misconception, and of course it's a stereotype, where a lot of people, unfortunately some Muslims, think that it's in Islam where parents have the right to force their daughter to marry whomever they like. No. We've discussed this before, that a lady came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Ya Rasulullah, that my father married me to his nephew for such and such reason. And so the Prophet ﷺ said, if you wish, we can consider that nullified, as it didn't happen. Because it's hanging on your approval. She said, well, Ya Rasulullah, I will approve it. I just wanted every woman to know that that's our right to agree or to disagree.
I wish that the people where I'm from in the West would realize that Islam was the first organized religion, the first organized government, the first organized anything to give women the right to speak their mind and to have a choice in anything.
And even to nullify the marriage.
Yeah. You know who said exactly what you're saying right now? It was Umar ibn Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him. Because he lived both eras, before and after. So before Islam, Umar ibn Khattab is talking, he's saying that before Islam, we were men who used to overcome their women. A woman had no say whatsoever. In the light of Islam, when we came to Al-Madinah, an Ansari women happened to be women who overcome their men. They have the upper word. So our women got influenced with the attitude of the Ansari women. So once I was talking to my wife and she had an argument with me. She argued with me. And that was to me very new, unprecedented. So I said, are you crazy? How could you argue with me? She said, why not? If the Prophet's wife argue with him, they review with him, and they might object. He said, do they do that? And he was astonished, knowing the fact that Umar's daughter, Hafsa, was one of the Prophet's wives. So he ran to his daughter, Hafsa, and he inquired from her, do you guys argue with the Prophet ﷺ? Do you object to him? Do you do? She said, yeah, we do. He said, you're such losers. But if the Prophet ﷺ would allow his wives to argue with him,
Who am I?
who am I to say, I'm the man. The word is mine. And no objection. You have no say in this house. Now we're moving from this area of being living an Islamic life, an honorable, happy, blessed life, to being a dictator, which is rejected, of course.
Yes, it comes to my mind here that even after Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, became a Khalifa, a caliphate of Muslims, he accepted his wife's criticism for him.
Argument.
Once,
Correct.
yes. Once
You know,
a man
and-
came to him complaining his wife, he found that Umar's wife are crying. She were crying on him. And
That's very, very laughable, because when Umar was the Khalifa, now he adopted all the conducts of the Prophet ﷺ and his companion Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. So after being very strong, now he's kind. Kind to his wife and to the entire ummah, but strong when it comes to the truth and the violation of Allah's rights. So a man came to him to complain about his wife.
Yes.
He was standing by the door and he heard an out loud noise. A woman was arguing with Umar and she was screaming. So the man decided to walk away. But
back.
Umar got hold of him and said, what did you guys need? He said, never mind. He
Nothing.
said, what did you need? He said, I came to complain about my wife that she raises her voice and she
About the
argues
same
with me.
here.
And I heard your wife is arguing with you. So there is no need.
Inshallah.
So now, Sheikh, you're saying that consultation goes in every aspect in our life. So what if I want to remarry again? What if I want to remarry? Or what if I want to divorce her?
My advice to you, Muhammad, marry for the first time first, then ask about the second. You're still on the shore. You haven't married yet. It's really amazing that the concept of shura is even involved in the matter of divorce. You know, once the Prophet ﷺ had almost divorced his wives. Why? Because they have lived with the Prophet ﷺ a very tough life. They experienced poverty, hunger. For months they wouldn't cook. They would just survive on dates and water. And when they have seen the Muslim Ummah prospering and flourishing and getting a lot of wealth, and many of the companions becoming very rich and eating meat, they said, what about us, Ya Rasulullah? Some of them wanted a bracelet of gold, some of them
This
wanted...
after the battle of Khaybar?
Yes, so the Prophet ﷺ was very disturbed that his wives are asking for a precious life, for a spacious house, for a nice ride, for wealth, literally. And the Prophet ﷺ was not created nor sent for this purpose. He's living his life, devoting himself totally for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he expected from his wives to help him out, to be the same. So the Prophet ﷺ was very upset. And he decided to stay away from his wives for an entire month. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed ayatul takhiyya, of giving them the choice, consulting them in the affair of what? Of giving them a divorce and giving them life, giving them wealth. في Surah Al-Ahzab, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated, يا أيها النبي قل لأزواجك إن كنتن تردن الحياة الدنيا وزينتها فتعالين أمتعكن وأسرحكن سراحا جميلا وإن كنتن تردن الله ورسوله والدار الآخرة فإن الله أعد للمحسنات منكن أجرا عظيما. Didn't I tell you, it is very fascinating that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was commanded, Ya Muhammad, or the Prophet, قل لأزواجك, give the choice and the option to your wives. Number one, if you desire this worldly life and its glitter and its wealth, come. I will divorce you and I will give you whatever you wish, all the money you want it. I'll make you rich. But if you choose to remain with the Prophet ﷺ as his wives and as the mothers of the believers, then you have to pay the price.
Poverty.
No, not necessarily, but to be pious, righteous wives. And I'm not saying that being poor and experiencing poverty and hardship is a sign of being righteous. But the Prophet ﷺ was not paying attention to any of that. He was focusing on pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and making every member of his ummah sufficient first before taking care of his needs, especially the worldly needs. So if you wish, and if you desire to remain with the Prophet ﷺ, and the choice would be choosing Allah and His Messenger ﷺ, so indeed Allah has prepared for the good doers amongst you أَجْرًا عَظِيمًا, which is
Great reward.
paradise.
Yes.
A great reward, which in this ayah is paradise. So the Prophet ﷺ came to Aisha. He began with Aisha. He loved Aisha so much. May Allah be pleased with her. And said, Ya Aisha, I'm going to offer you something, but don't give me your opinion before
Consulting your
you consult
father
your
and mother.
parents.
Yes.
And the Prophet ﷺ quoted the ayah. So, Ya Aisha, would you choose the dunya and its glitter, or to live with me and bear with me the responsibilities? She said, Ya Rasulullah, are you asking me to consult my parents concerning you? Definitely. I would like to stay with you. But Ya Rasulullah, let me ask you a question. Did you offer this offer to any of your wives? He said, no, you're the first. So she said, well, don't tell them that you consulted me, and don't tell them my choice. She wanted to be, the best. And let everybody choose on their own, so that if he gets to divorce some, that would be best for her.
She always had an
Jealousy.
angle.
She was jealous.
No, I think you have to be going.
I would love to stay more, but really I will have to go right now. And inshallah Azza Jalla, hopefully we'll meet next time.
Inshallah.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.
إليه.